morning, everybody. This is the time and place set for the City of Pittsburgh Zoning Board of Adjustments hearings on September 19th, 2024. And the first case of the morning is Zone Case 2510. Zone Case 137 of 2024 for 2510 Baldwick Road. The applicant is identified as Tyler Martick. Do we have Mr. Martick? Do we have? Yep, there you are. Is there anybody else who is going to be testifying with you?
No, it is just me this morning.
All right. And do you swear or affirm that the information you'll provide to the board will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. And Daniel, could you read the case in, please?
This is case 137 of 2024 for 2510 Baldwick Road. The application is for the change of use to a laundromat, and they're requesting a special exception pursuant to section 911.02 to allow laundry service in the LNC district.
All right. We have your materials up, Mr. Martin. Could you explain where the property is and what you're proposing to do?
Yes, so again, the address is 2510 Baldwick Road, Pittsburgh zip 15205. If you go to the next page there, there's an overhead Google Street View. I'm not sure how familiar you guys are with the area, but that main road down at the bottom is Noblestown Road. On the lower side is Green Tree Borough. Our space is actually right under that red star there. It's an end cap of...
Yeah, Mr. Martin, could you do me a favor? And I apologize, we have a little bit of a lag on the line, but if you could speak a little bit more slowly. We do have a court reporter, and you're going quickly enough that I'm having a hard time understanding.
Sorry about that. So yeah, that bottom road there is Noblestown Road. Our space is under that red star. It's an end cap of a strip mall there. There's a bowling alley over to the left, PNC Bank, a couple fast food restaurants going up, a gas station. And right now it is just an empty office space that we are looking to get an exemption to put a self-service laundromat in. If you go to the next slide there, is our parking demand analysis. Right now, it's a 3,300 roughly square foot space with 23 parking spots for the space itself.
Well, when you say, excuse me, I apologize. When you say 23 parking spaces for the space itself, there are other uses within the same.
Correct.
But are there 23 spaces that are dedicated to the laundry service use, or
Correct.
just?
Yeah. So that end cap where our space is actually a separate parcel from the other three tenants in the building to our right. If you go to the next slide, it shows there's parking spots.
I see.
It's the building with the green awning there. So the parking spots right in front in the top picture, and those parking spots to the left are dedicated for that building itself. And then the top picture is actually taken from, there's a dedicated parking lot containing more spots that makes up that 23 number directly behind where that picture is taken from.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for that. And the parking demand analysis was developed with the number of washers and the number of people who would typically be at the facility at any time?
Correct. Yeah. So I'm doing some research online. Rough number was one parking spot per every 2 washer pockets we have, and we have 22 in there. So that comes out to 11, which is more than sufficient for what's there. It does not have a handicap spot, but we are going to put one in right in front of the building there, so they have easy access in case somebody's in a wheelchair or walker or something like that.
Okay. All right. Could you tell a little bit about the operations? Is this are you intending to operate 24/7 or 7 in the morning to 7 at night? I mean, what type of operation?
Yeah, so we are not planning to be open 24 hours a day. we own a bunch of laundromats around the Pittsburgh area, and we found nothing really good happens after 11. So we're proposing to be open from 6 a.m. Until 11 p.m. That gets us overnight. We get our cleaners in there to make sure it's ready to go in the morning, and because that just keeps anybody out from hanging out in there overnight. We found that those have been the best hours for us across the board at the majority of our stores.
And are there employees on site for the full time of operation?
There will not be somebody there all day. We have our maintenance guys in and out of our stores throughout the day. Myself and the other manager in the office are out and about, popping in the stores. And we have an emergency number posted all over the stores where they can get to us anytime between those operating hours. We have a 16 camera system that we can see every corner in the building there if something would go wrong. And we can usually get somebody out there pretty quickly if need be.
Okay. And there, because you're requesting a special exception, there are provisions in the code at section 91104A67, which ask us to consider whether all uses, this is the requirement, all uses shall be conducted within a completely enclosed building and shall be designed to minimize external signs of the operation such as noise, odor, smoke, vibration, and other factors. So I'm assuming that all of the washers will be contained with washers and dryers will be contained within the building, and that any venting has been designed so that it's not going to disrupt the other buildings or the surrounding area.
Correct. In the slide we're on now, you'll see the bottom picture, that white wall there. That's where the dryer vents will be going out. However, it's an empty lot, and that there are apartment buildings up behind. If you go to the first or the second slide there with the overhead view, that shows, so like those white kind of U-shaped buildings up above the star there, those are apartment buildings, but then they'll be into that empty lot, the dryer vents. However, that hillside there is about 50 feet high with trees on top of it, to where with the equipment nowadays, it's not pumping out anything crazy in terms of ventilation. So I think that would be a sufficient barrier in between anything residential. Like I said, that's a bowling alley down there. It's Brighton Hot Dog Shop across the corner. And Nobletown's a pretty busy road, so it's already pretty commercialized as well.
Okay. All right. And then you said your site is sort of tucked away off Noblestown, but there's another strip mall in front. Does that have generally the same hours of operation as you're proposing?
I would assume so. I mean, the bank is probably 9 to 6. I mean, we're going to be open a little later than the bank and stuff, but the big building on the left there with that green circle, it's a bowling alley. So, I mean, they're open until, I'm sure on the weekends, they're open until 12, 1 o'clock, something along those lines.
Okay. I didn't have any other questions. Mr. Richardson or Ms. Burton-Falk, any questions of the applicant here?
No questions.
No additional questions.
Okay. And do we have anybody attending who would like to comment with respect to the application for 2510 Baldwick Road? If you're interested in commenting, raise your hand now. And I am seeing no hands raised. So, Mr. Martik, thank you very much for explaining what you're proposing to do, and the board will issue a decision within the time permitted under the code.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you. We're accepting the exhibits as part of the record, too. Thank you. Oh, we're close to 9:10. Almost did it. All right, the next case of the morning is zone case 139 of 2024 for 132 Prospect Street. The applicant is identified as Jeffrey D. Benedito. Do we have? We do. Hooray. Are you there? We can now, thank you. Are you the only person who's going to be testifying with respect to this application, or are there others who need to be sworn in?
The owner, Basil, or his son, Firas, may also provide some comments.
Are you the architect for the project? Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
There's a hand raised from Firas Tiramini?
Yes.
Terminini, sorry. I just want to get
yes.
everybody sworn in at the same time.
Okay.
Is there anybody else who should be part of the group here?
No, that should be it.
All right. Can to Mr. Terminini, you should get a note that says join as a panelist. If you join as a panelist, we'll get you sworn in too.
Okay, I see that note.
There you go. All right. Great. And I'm going to ask you both if you swear or affirm that the information that you'll provide to the board will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Okay. Daniel, could you read the case in, please?
This is case 139 of 2024 for 132 Prospect Street. The application is for the construction of 2 attached houses, and they're requesting a variance from section 903.03.d.2. A 3-foot side setback is required and 0 foot is requested.
All right. Who, just for the court reporter's benefit, who's going to be speaking first? And we have your materials up, so we just want to know who's talking.
I will. This is Jeffrey DiBenedetto with Art Architect.
Okay. Like I said, we have your materials up, and we'll move through them as you tell us.
Gotcha. Hi, everybody. Thanks for the opportunity to present this, as Daniel stated, it's 132. Also 134, which is currently both one lot on Prospect Street in Mount Washington. We can go to the next slide. It's kind of in the dead center of the Mount Washington area, and it's currently on an empty lot. As I said, it is one lot. The adjacent property that you can see, the white building to the right, is 130 Prospect, which is also owned and currently being developed by the owner. We can go to the next slide. Now, originally this was developed as a 2-unit on one lot, which is the plan that you see to the left-hand side, where everything is on the single lot. It's just a duplex, a side-by-side 3-story with some decks and balconies in the back. Each one also had its integral off-street parking, both inside a garage. However, when this project was all said and done, everything designed, drawings ready, the lender informed us that the only way they would proceed with the project is if they were separated into 2 lots. And mostly everything on those 2 lots, even without changing much of the structure, would conform entirely to the zoning code, with the exception of what I'll get to in a second. The only difference between the original design and the new one is that because there's now a new lot line running down the middle, which is yet to happen, the unit to the left-hand side, which is south cardinally, or east, or sorry, west, that the garage had to be eliminated and a parking pad had to be put into place, so that way the off-street parking dedicated to that unit would be contained within the lot itself. I should also point out that you can see in both versions, but particularly on the right, that's the current proposal.
So I'm going to, and again, I apologize for the lag on the line here, but so the only item on the zoning board's agenda is a request for a variance from the setback provision, which requires a 3-foot side setback. is the only place you're requesting a 0 setback on the attached side of the units? Would it meet the setback requirement on both of the outer sides of the lot?
So yes, on the outer sides of the lot, everything is completely fine. And actually, the slide after, as soon as I just finished the one part, gets into that. Just for the sake of everyone understanding the full context, there is a 10-foot easement on the right-hand side of the right lot, and that provides parking access for both units of the duplex and also the adjacent 130. That easement has already been incorporated into the deed and is recorded with the county.
So
the
the setback on that side is it's burdened by an easement. So you have at least the easement distance on the right-hand side, but then you meet the 3 foot on the left-hand side.
Correct, the 3 foot for the structure
Okay.
and the 5 foot for the accessory structure.
So it is an R2 district, but you're proposing, instead of having a duplex on a single lot, you're proposing a single unit on 2 new lots, with the duplex condition being that there's a 0 foot setback between the structures.
That is correct.
Okay. I think I understand that. Are there other photos or information that you want to
Yes,
present to
we
us?
can go to the next slide. So, as I stated, the original design, which were a duplex, and then the building being pretty much the same, the original version completely conformed to all the zoning codes. This new proposed version, even the middle section where they connect, is fine according to the section cited here. When a dwelling is attached to one or more separate dwelling units on a property, wall, or separate abutting wall, the required interior side yard setback shall be 0 on the abutting party sidewall. The 2 highlighted areas I have on this plan are the areas in question I'm noting. Although we did read it a bit differently. We read it as the center line between the dividing line between the 2 lots would entirely be 0, but we do understand that zoning has taken a different interpretation of that.
We have to we'll look at the interpretation question, but are there other similar attached duplex structures in the immediate area?
There are a couple of multi-units, yeah, in the immediate adjacency. Unfortunately, I did actually include those in the presentation. However, I do have some additional renderings.
Okay, I was going to say, if you have other materials you want us to take a look at, we'll see them.
Yeah. So this is actually a rendering of the original proposal. I did not adjust. The only difference between this and the current proposal is in that bottom left image. You can see there's a garage door there and a wall that, encasing the garage. That wall will be shortened so that it ends at the property line, and then the off-street parking will be underneath the structure, but open air and fully contained to the lot itself. Okay. The exterior design of this may shift slightly over the course of it, but I just wanted to include this so that way there was some context as to exactly.
The only thing on our agenda is the request for a 0 foot setback when 3 is required. So we're not looking at the design is what I'm saying. Are there other Are there other materials that we should be looking at?
Yes,
it's hard to read.
I just included this to show that the entire building has been fully designed, and where we are right now is basically just trying to find a way to get what has already been fully worked out to work on the site
Okay.
to accommodate the lender, and also to point out that the structure, if it were, the duplex on the one lot, would work completely fine exactly as is. The only difference is because we're putting that dividing line between the two.
And I think we understand that.
Sorry.
Are there other materials that you want us to take a look at? You said that you don't have any photos. Okay. And
No, I don't have any other photos, no.
did Mr. Terminini, did you want to add anything to the conversation here? Okay, we're not hearing him.
He may be muted.
That's fine. I was going to say, I'm going to turn to the other board members. Mr. Richardson or Ms. Burton-Falk, any comments or questions?
No questions.
No, Madam Chair.
Thank you. And do we have anybody attending who would like to comment with respect to the application for Prospect Street? I am not seeing any hands raised. You're not here for Prospect Street. We have somebody here in the room, so I'm checking in the room too.
Yeah, I do have one more comment just that I forgot to mention, which is that we did reach out to them at Washington CDC with this proposal, and they said that they took no issue with the proposed variance or the requested variance.
Okay, that's good to know. Thank you for that additional info. All right. With no other comments, we are going to close the record. We'll accept the exhibits as part of the record, and we will issue a decision within the time permitted under the code. Thank you.
Okay, thank you
Thank
very
you both
much.
for being here this morning. All right. The next case on the agenda is zone case 140 of 2024 for 5642 Bryant Street. The applicant is identified as Anna Montano. And we have Anna Montano. Ms. Montano, I understand, and we have Michelle Cavalier. I understood that there was a request for a continuance for this application. Is that correct? Ms. Montano, are you there? Are you unmuted?
Yes. Can you hear me?
We can. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, I'm requesting a continuance.
And as I understand it, we found a time for you on October 10th. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
Was there a specific time, Daniel?
At 9:20.
9:20 on October 10th. So we're not going to be conducting a hearing on this application today. But if anybody who was attending who wanted to comment on that, please join us again on October 10th at 9:20. All right? We have Michelle Cavalier has a hand raised. Does that comment address whatever question you have, or you've muted now?
Hello?
Yep.
Yeah, well, I guess this will have to wait till the.
Yes, we're not conducting a hearing today, so we're not going to hear any comments.
Okay.
Thank you.
Understood.
We have another hand raised from Justin Crowley.
Yep, just a point of information. Is the application identical in the two cases, the one at 9:20 today and the one at 9:20 on October 10th?
It's my understanding that the application is the same, but if you...
Yes, it is the same.
Okay, all right.
Thank
So
you.
if there are any discussions to be had between now and October 10th, it might be helpful to have them. So Ms. Montano, if you maybe reach out to Mr. Crowley and Ms. Cavalier, maybe some questions can be resolved before we have a hearing. But we're
Sure,
not...
for
Okay.
sure.
All right, so we're not having a hearing today. We're going to go off the record for 6 minutes because our next hearing is scheduled for 9:30. So we'll be back then. Thank you. It's 9:29 and I'm going to talk really slowly so we get to 9:30. But the next case of the morning is zone case 141 of 2024 for 5126 Natrona Way. And the applicant has been identified as Ross Goodwin. Do we have somebody who is here on behalf of the applicant? Either Mr. Goodwin or who is here on behalf of the applicant for Natrona Way? Oh, tell me we don't have somebody. It's 9:30. Going to give another shout out to who the applicant for zone case 141 of 2024 for 5126 Natrona Way. Do we not have an applicant? Did you get materials from an applicant?
I did. I got a presentation. I'll shoot him a quick email just in case.
Okay. It's not anybody, either of the people who are online.
No.
Yeah, they're 2 attendees, but. For anybody watching at home, we're just waiting to see if we have an applicant for the case for Natrona Way. Still no applicant for Natrona Way. We're seeing if we can get somebody rounded up for this. If not,
No.
well, we'll hang out for a few more minutes. We'll go on mute to see if anybody shows up online, but we do not have an applicant for the case for 9:30, and we'll give it a couple minutes, but we're not going to give it much more than that. For the people who's still on the line, if you were curious about the application for Muldowney Avenue at 940, we've had a request to continue that case, and the applicant has made the request for continuance. We'll call it again at 940 just in case there's anybody else, but if you were interested in the case for 1309 Muldowney Avenue, that's been continued to October 3rd at 9:20. So if that's the case you're interested in, come back then. But if not, if you're waiting to hear about Natrona Way, we still don't have an applicant for Natrona Way. Nope.
Oh. I could try giving him a call.
Yeah,
Might as well.
why not? I would so be happy to be back in the office by 10 o'clock. But do you want to take I mean, if I'm back by 10, it'd be great. But,
Whatever you got for me off the top of your head is
oh,
great.
well, I have.
Hey, is this Ross? Hey, this is Daniel with the City of Pittsburgh. Your hearing is right now, so you need to log into the Zoom to present your case. No, it's right. It was scheduled for 9:30. Okay, cool. Thanks.
Okay,
Bye.
looks like we found an applicant for Natrona Way. What time did you think it was?
That was at 10.
Nope. Look at your agenda, bucko. All right. So we're now waiting for an applicant for 5126 Natrona Way. Do we have the applicant yet? He's just waiting for him to log in. What were you planning to do for the next half hour?
We have an applicant.
We have an applicant. Hooray. Thank you. Could we, Mr. Goodwin, if you're online, you'll get an invitation to join as a panelist, which I think you've done. Could you unmute yourself so we can hear you? Mr. Goodwin, can you let us know you're there, please?
Yes, can you hear me now?
We can, thank you. And I'm assuming that you are the only person who is going to present this application.
I am.
And do you swear or affirm that the information you'll provide to the board will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. And Daniel, could you read the case in, please?
This is case 141 of 2024 for 5126 Natrona Way. The application is for a subdivision. They're requesting a variance from section 903.03.e.2. 1,200 square foot minimum lot size and 1,000 square foot lots are proposed, and a variance from section 926.129, which requires street frontage. This subdivision would create a lot that would not have street frontage.
All right. We have your materials up, Mr. Goodwin. Could you walk us through where the property is and what you're actually proposing here?
Sure. So the property is the one highlighted in yellow there on the map. And as I said, it goes all the way through from Natrona to Keystone. And right now there is a townhouse on Natrona, which is the secondary street. But on the main street, Keystone, there is now a parking spot for the Natrona property and a curb cut that goes up and in. So it's basically a vacant lot kind of facing Keystone. And if you can see by the circles, the highlighting up and down the block there between Stanton and 52nd, most of the block is actually subdivided in the way that I'm seeking a subdivision.
Well, I guess, is there anything to indicate when those other parcels were subdivided? I mean, yours is compliant with the code as it is, and you would be creating two lots that don't comply with the minimum lot size requirements.
Right.
Are there? I'm assuming that your proposal is to use the Keystone side of the parcel for another unit. Is that correct?
Correct. I put in we're talking about a 2 or 3 bedroom unit. We would actually, and there's been a lot of properties going in that have first floor garages using a curb cut.
I have to say, we're not looking at any proposal. I'm just the request is for the subdivision and having a smaller lot than is what is required. But you said that the existing structure on the property is on the Natrona Way side.
Correct.
And that's the side, because the requirement is that a lot, when it's created, have street frontage, but the Natrona Way structure is oriented to the way, not the street. Is that correct?
That's correct. And the way it's currently set up is, I'm trying to get what we would do would actually make the property more in line with the neighborhood, because except all of these, there are 38 lots that front on Natrona Way that either have houses, most of them have townhouses on them. 20 of those are subdivided in a way that have 2,000 square foot lots, like we're proposing. So we're actually proposing something that is more in line with the neighborhood. We're not looking for something that's that is different than the neighborhood. We're looking to do something that is more in line with the neighborhood.
Right now, all we're seeing is a parcel map. Do you have any photographs of the area or any other materials that we should be reviewing, or you just want us to look at just this one piece of paper?
I mean, I didn't think about getting pictures of the neighborhood.
That would be helpful, because you're asking us, you're telling us about the context of the neighborhood, and we're seeing a flat map. So my request would be that you supplement the record with some photographs of the parcel in question and the surrounding neighborhood.
Okay, I can do that, definitely.
Mr. Richardson or Ms. Burton-Falk, did you have any other questions for the applicant?
No questions.
No questions, Chair.
Thank you.
Okay, can I just I just wanted to bring in one or two things. One was that we would actually be getting rid of the curb cut that is on Keystone, which would actually bring back more public parking, because we wouldn't have the curb cut, so it would bring another space of public parking to Keystone, which I know Lawrenceville needs. And the only other thing I wanted to say, I did yesterday in the Post-Gazette, there was an article about the new proposed zoning rules, where they want to, in order to promote building for to increase
we appreciate those. We appreciate that comment, but those regulations are not the ones that we're dealing with right now. We have to look at the ones that are actually in place. So we appreciate your comment, but I'm going to turn to the list of attendees. Would anybody like to comment with respect to this application? If you'd like to comment, please raise your hand. We have a hand raised from Bill Vaglia. Mr. Vaglia, could you unmute yourself so that we can hear you?
Yeah. Sorry, a few extra click-throughs. Can you hear me?
We can. And yes. Do you swear or affirm that the information you'll provide to the board will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay.
Thank you for the time. I'm a resident. I actually own the home next door at 5128 Natrona Way. Probably going to be one of the most affected individuals by this change. I would just want to point out a few details that I think are incorrect on the application. Unless I'm reading this incorrectly, it's stating that that current building on Natrona Way 5126 is a 5-foot setback from the property lines, and that is not the case. The building is not common wall with my home, but there is literally a 2-inch space between the two buildings.
Well, I didn't say there was a.
Well, sorry, Mr. Goodwin. It isn't a dialogue right now. We're going to hear from Mr. Vaglia, and then we'll let you respond. Excuse me, we can't talk over one another for the court reporter. So one at a time, Mr. Vaglia. The issue before the board is whether this parcel can be subdivided into 2 lots. So the questions about the existing structure aren't really before the board?
Well, but the application is maybe in fault in the beginning with the information provided, so I don't know exactly if everything is correct on the application. My concerns with this particular subdivision is not creating 1 but 2 lots that are substantially 15 to 20% less than required current square footage for lots. This is a neighborhood that is already very densely populated. There's difficulty in parking. I understand Mr. Goodwin, the applicant, is placed an application, is stated he would restore curb cut, but it does not necessarily restore parking does not create additional parking for the neighborhood. I've lived here quite some time, and when you park on Stanton Avenue. We're in the middle of the block. It will be very detrimental to any structures going in there will be detrimental to available parking. Stanton Avenue right now is very difficult to find parking even in the midday, such as today. Also, my kitchen and back patio, I have about 4 feet of footage that is, my patio is about 8 foot deep, and there's a short wall between my patio and a patio on 5126, and my patio is slightly recessed about 3 feet down below the buildings on 5126 and the building behind me on a brick building behind me. Any structures more than 1 story tall will restrict light and fresh air and, the quality in the neighborhood, the quality of life in my back patio area. And I understand that the original zoning divisions were allowed this type of division. The neighborhood has many small lots like this, but the original lot plan was developed in 1880s. And I think that in 150 years, we've discovered that, maybe we should not be cramming houses onto small lots.
And Mr. Vaglia, can I interrupt you for a second? Your parcel is one of the parcels on the block that extends from Natrona to Keystone? You don't have a split lot?
My parcel is just northwest, I believe, of 51226. So I'm one of these half parcels that there is a house behind me on Keystone, and I've kind of basically I'm one of the I guess grandfathered in no frontage lots, I guess.
Well, I understand. I was just trying to understand the context of whether yours was one of the through lots or yours was one of the split lots between Natrona and Keystone.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And a structure of anything more than 1 story, 2 to 3 stories will block out light from not just the patio, but my upper bedrooms, deny airflow to the building. Again, I understand trying to create housing, but this is more speculation and profit than it is actually creating housing.
We're also speculating about the potential structure that hasn't been proposed. We're reviewing the subdivision issue at the moment. So.
Yes, ma'am. Again, I don't. But you have to also consider what may go in when you subdivide a lot. If you subdivide a lot, then you allow potential for building, and then there's another discussion that will happen then. But still, why would you subdivide a lot with no square footage to simply have a second lot? But again, I think that any potential subdivision would allow for a future where it would detract from the quality of my home, decrease my property values, decrease my quality here in the neighborhood, and also create more confusion and congestion in the neighborhood, and simply for profit in a neighborhood that's fairly well has a lot of houses right now, and they're in demand. But this is not creating a cure for housing. A cure for housing shortages. This is basically trying to maximize profit, which is fine, but it doesn't seem that it's going to work out very fairly to everyone.
And I'm going to, Mr. Vaglia, we provided Mr. Goodwin with the opportunity of providing some photographs of the area because we're just seeing the lot map at this point. And I'm going to extend the same offer to you if you would like to send some photographs that support your position as well. And then, Mr. Goodwin, we're going to let you respond, and then we're going to close the hearing, but keeping it open for the receipt of photographs.
I'm actually in the neighborhood. I apologize. I did not understand the full process. I thought I could present pictures in person.
No, that's fine. I mean, sometimes we have photographs and sometimes we don't, but I think this would help. So if
I could send photographs now online.
We're not going to accept them now. We're going to accept them after the hearing, and we'll take a look at them when we're issuing a decision, because we're not issuing a decision today.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Goodwin, would you like to respond briefly to Mr. Vaglia's comments?
Sure. Yes, I this is not there will be a parking added, which will benefit the neighborhood. There will be a structure on Keystone, which is not which will not do much to block out sun for him. I'm not sure where he's coming up with that. But it will add housing in the neighborhood, and it is in line with the with 38 or with 20 of the 38 lots on that square block. So I don't understand.
Well, and again, I think for both of you, some photographs would help us understand the context. So we will take a look at that when we issue a decision. I think we understand both of your positions, but I think photographs will help us understand. So
I would also, if I could.
Just briefly.
Yeah, briefly. There may be divisions of these lots, but a lot of these lots are empty. The original map from 1890 shows a garage next to my home at, I guess would be 51330 Natrona, but currently it's a backyard. So a lot of these lots may be subdivided, but they are currently not occupied.
But that doesn't mean they wouldn't be available for use. I mean, because they are created, they're existing lots. So, and again, like I said, this is why some context photos I think would be helpful for us.
Of course.
Okay, great. What is the process to get the photos to you?
If you could send them to Mr. Shepke, and we'll put the email address in the chat for Mr. Vaglia if you don't have it.
Yeah,
I believe it was on the correspondence.
Okay. So that's where we send them, and Daniel will share them with the board before we issue a decision. All right?
Okay, great.
All right. Thank you very much for being here this morning. We're going to move to the last hearing, and I'm going to say again, we're going to keep the record open for Natrona Way, and then the last hearing identified for hearing today is Zone Case 136 of 2024 for 1309 Meldowney Avenue. As I noted previously, we've had a request for a continuance for that matter, and we're going to hear it on October 3rd at 9:20. So if you were interested in that, come then. But other than that, LaShawn, we're going to leave you when we log out of Zoom, but we'll talk to you soon. Feel better. All right. Take care. Bye.